Good evening and welcome. What if I were to tell you that Yo-Yo Ma is waiting backstage, ready to play the Bach cello suites for us tonight? Now, sadly, that's not the case. But if it were, I imagine you might be excited about two things. First, to hear a world-class musician, and second, a beloved piece of music. You might even be excited by the combination of these two things, Yo-Yo Ma's personal interpretation of Bach. In classical music, performers must do two things to be considered great. First, they must follow the directions that usually someone else, namely the composer, wrote. And second, they must convey something personal about themselves in their performance. But there's a problem with this way of thinking that, as a cellist myself trained for decades, I've witnessed firsthand. The emphasis we place on composers' intentions is often used to suppress rather than cultivate personal expression in performers. The result is that performers give interpretations that are much more similar to each other than even what the written music allows. During my time at the Graduate Center, I decided to abandon the question of composers' intentions and ask something different yet surprisingly obvious. What are performers actually doing when they play a piece of music? To do so, I collected 23 recordings made by living acclaimed cellists, all playing the Prelude to Bach's Fourth Cello Suite. And then I did something completely different than my training as a musician. I turned to data. Using a program called Sonic Visualizer, I annotated 3 measurable features of recordings: tempo, or timing, loudness, and timbre. And then I coded in Python to quantify and compare different performers. Now, as someone with zero background in data science or statistics, this was super challenging for me, but I found something completely unexpected in my analyses. When I was looking for features that I assumed were most individual in performances, namely how performers phrased the music, I found that they were actually remarkably similar to each other. Meanwhile, musical features not typically studied, like bowing technique, showed far greater variety. In short, what I found was that even though players sounded very different from each other, they interpreted the music very similarly. So what does this mean for performers? I think we all know that coming to listen to Yo-Yo Ma is something unique and special. But my guess is that if the constraints of classical music tradition were lifted, he might give us a new and revolutionary way of interpreting the same piece. And so my hope is that with this research, we invite ourselves to reconsider the obligations that performers have in classical music. In doing so, we give performers greater opportunities for self-expression, and for listeners, we provide the chance to hear this music that we know and love in new, exciting ways. Thank you.